What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk to you about my favorite topic, and that is expansion. A lot of good updates in that regard, so I want to share that with you. And also, Bank of America recently gave us another rating. They did reiterate their target. So I want to talk on what that truly does mean for Lucid, the market, and its investors. So I'm going to go over all the stuff you need to know. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciated. And with that, let's get right to it. So live ticker, I'll just put this up, is currently up 1.8%, so 5.6 million for volume, and for a Friday and within the first 30 minutes of the trading day, that is very, very big. So today is going to be a very heavy volume day, so very positive. 1.5 million shares being purchased by institutions on the secondary market. So once again, that is a very good positive if you want to consider it that way. But moving on, so when it comes down to expansion, there's been a lot of good things coming out over the last little bit. More recently, though, it was Europe. So we already know Q4, this is when they're going to be starting to have deliveries to both Europe and Saudi Arabia. I'm a very big fan of Europe. And I think this is obviously, you can't be a fan of Europe without being a fan of Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia, for the most part, is going to be delivering all the vehicles to Europe. So again, you really want the Saudi factory to be built as fast as possible to be able to produce Europe, which has a massive demand. I'm going to touch on that as well. But today, so December the 16th, Friday, the new studio in Holland is opening, so that is a huge deal. So looking on Lucid's website, you see the 3 new studios now all officially up and running. It did initially say opening in winter of 2022, but like I said, 𝗖𝗓𝗧𝗛, if I'm saying that correctly, officially did open today. So once again, I think this is exactly part of Lucid's bigger picture, because there's going to be deliveries to Europe, and then once people start to see Lucids driving down the street, it's just going to spread word of mouth, and people are going to really get very excited about that. And especially more so being in Europe, hopefully I would anticipate that Lucid would plan a lot more events similar to what they do in the States. So let me know your thoughts on that. When it comes down to demand, as you can tell right here, there's Europe and China. I've brought this chart up a lot in the past, and this is exactly why I'm very much excited about Lucid, because we are trying to hit Europe. Europe is massive amount of demand, similar to the States. States didn't necessarily have that much demand, but it is starting to pick up. And then over and above that, you have China. So when it comes down to China, we heard a lot of news at the tail end of 2021. So this is the news that came out November 18th, 2021, saying that China basically is going to be having a facility, Lucid is going to be having a facility in China by mid-decade. So once again, that is a very positive thing, because if you look at the stats and the data, yes, there's a massive amount of demand in China. So once again, Lucid is hitting that exact mark on exactly where they need to go, where the demand is. And I think with Lucid's performance, their technology, they're going to do a lot of good things. 2022, as I've already said, is a little bit more of a learning curve, but moving on and seeing the overall demand in the global aspect of EVs, it definitely solidifies exactly that we are investing in the right market. And so recently though, like I said, November 18th, 2021 was the last date that we potentially started to hear about China. They went completely silent. So since November, we did have, I believe, the Q1, Q2, and Q3 earnings. Lucid did not mention China once in any of those earnings. And I've looked through the transcripts, didn't refer to that at all. But as you can tell right here, this came out on the 15th, so yesterday. It does look like China is still in their midst. So once again, I think this is going to be very exciting for Lucid once they are able to kind of fully get over there. And they are starting to hire a lot of big position. So I did already touch on this in the last, I think it was around a month ago, when they were starting to hire pretty severely. So again, I think this is a very positive sign, and hopefully they do bring this up in their upcoming Q4 earnings as far as what they are anticipating. Because if they do want this kind of facility by mid-decade, which in this article it does talk on that, or at least in the short term it calls it, but if they do want to have a facility by mid-decade in China, they definitely need to hurry. Because similar action to Saudi Arabia, they want that fully functioning by 2025, 2026, and they started that recently. So I think if they are going to be starting in China, it definitely does need to happen ASAP. My own opinion, I'm not a financial advisor or anything, so make sure you guys do your own due diligence at the end of the day. But once again, looking at this chart, I think this is where long-term Lucid is going to do a lot of good things. Short-term sucks. Plain and simple. I'm not here to say that it's amazing. It's gone down quite a lot. And again, it's hard to have good confidence in the actual company when it's just gone down like that. But like I said, if you take a step back and maybe just interpret 2022 as just a little bit more of a learning curve, might make obviously the longer term feel a little bit more advantageous. So my own opinion, of course, on that. And outside of that though, we recently did get a analyst upgrade, or more so another reiteration of a rating. So once again, Bank of America has always really liked Lucid behind the scenes. And I think that's always been a very positive sign. So they were one of our first kind of partnerships early on as far as offering financing and things like that. So I think in general, us and Bank of America really get along. And the fact that they gave us a 21 price target is very, very good. So again, let me know your thoughts on that. They did reiterate that. So given the circumstances of where we are, so keep in mind, like I said, I'm just going to quickly pop this back open. We're unfortunately negative right now, so it kind of went down a little bit as I was talking, but $7.41. So looking at this rating, $21, that is a pretty good return on investment, because Bank of America does see Lucid's upside potential. And of course, this $21 price target is their 12-month price target. So that's just something you need to factor in. It's not necessarily going to go to 21 overnight. It's going to go through its fluctuations. And right now we are in a little bit more of a spiral, unfortunately, in regards to the technicals and everything like that. So once again, I did do a video yesterday on if we do get to that $5 range. So make sure you guys pay attention to that, because potentially if we do get to that $5 range, a lot of scary things might happen. But again, I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk on Bank of America. So the fact that they did give us a $21 price target, I think that speaks volumes. It goes to show that this is just a cycle. I know there's a lot of newer investors in Lucid potentially, and they are very scared about this downtrend that has been on, but this is just a cycle. This is what the stock market does. It goes through cycles, whether cycles sometimes last longer than others in the past, and sometimes they last years. But generally speaking, it is cycles. So this isn't the end of Lucid by it going down by any means. It's going to go through its cycles and eventually it's going to go up. Whether it be good economic data, the Fed's just easing off, there's a lot of different circumstances, or potentially it could be Lucid based as well, just based on their financials, news, or something like that. There's a lot of different factors at play when it comes down to investing, and this is exactly why I love investing, because there's so many different things. It makes you actually think about others, how other people are interpreting news, such as ratings. So for instance, someone sees this rating and they might see that as a negative. They might see it as obviously a positive. There's different ways to interpret anything. Similar to news. So some of you might not even want to go to China. Of course, going to China has its negatives as well. So once again, it's all up to interpretation. So I absolutely love investing in this aspect. So let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments below. I'm just going to vaguely do some technicals. Like I said, I've been really doing a lot of videos on a lot of different stocks. Sofi, Lucid, Mullen, and various other ones. Stochastic is at 3. I've never seen anything oversold as much as Lucid. So this is crazy. In addition to that, momentum. Number of retail investors surprisingly are taking advantage and enjoying this discount. So once again, that could be seen as a positive sign if you want to consider it that way. RSI is also at 23, which is mind-blowingly low. So once again, I think this is a very good sign that we might have a value rally coming, at least in the short term. One thing I just want to compare this to is if you look back and what happened in this stage, there was a huge amount of panic in the market. So even if you look back at the post back in May of 2022, there was mass hysteria. But look at this. It basically took us about a week and a half, 2 weeks to regain to where we previously were. And then we kind of were flat a little bit, but for the most part, there's a lot of short-term pain. And hypothetically, next week, we could easily bounce back to this range. So mid $8 range, somewhere around that. This is why I said take advantage, do your own due diligence, and if you like these discounted prices, then buy. Because hypothetically, even next week, it might be 8, might be 9, or potentially might be 6. You never know. That's the fun part of it. Make sure you guys do your own due diligence, and if you do believe in Lucid in the long term, then yes, take advantage of this. And this is exactly why, like I said, these are my favorite aspects of Lucid, is their expansion. So going to China, going to Europe, because looking at demand it's there. Sales are there. People want EVs. And I think that is the bigger picture of Lucid that a lot of investors really need to encompass. But regardless of all of that, let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Always greatly appreciated. If you do like my channel, want to support the growth, take a look at my memberships. Link in the description below, or just hit the join button at the bottom of the screen. With that said, appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.